Hey everyone, welcome to the Smothered post-session podcast.
Howdy.
I'm Lawson. I'm joined here with our leading lady, Lydia Weinbrenner.
No.
And our director, Seth Thompson.
That's me.
He's okay.
And we just
A little less,
finished our first session.
Yes, we did.
Oh, we made it through. We made it through, guys.
I can't wait for people to hear this
gosh.
thing,
Oh, God.
man. It's going to be a lot of fun.
It was so much fun to do it.
So excited for moving forward with this and working at the kinks. We had some fun.
We did.
Yeah.
We did. What
It's-
happened for like the first hour,
Hour?
Lawson?
Oh, what happened in the first hour?
yeah.
Why spend 4 or 5 hours integrating all this new equipment and yet still had to take an entire hour? It's great. It's great.
It was fun.
Really, I appreciate both your patience. through
No, it's
that.
fine, man.
You
I
know,
Technology can be really fickle and
it
decide
is.
when
Speaking of which,
Yeah.
keep saying that while I adjust this.
I was
yeah,
just happy you got it running, dude. Like,
Yeah, I was like, honestly, I could be here all night. I kind of just want to be hello.
well, it's kind of nice just to do something creative again, really. You know,
God,
we've all
yes.
been on this weird. I mean, with COVID and everything, we've all been kind of.
Well,
It's been on
now,
a hiatus
hot
of like anything.
Well, I mean, like right as this quarantine situation happened, we were gonna be in a show that got canceled, and I was sitting here
Thanks
going,
for bringing that up.
"Well, I'm bringing
I'm gonna be crying over it. No,
God." He's very sensitive.
I'm just kidding. Yes.
Very sensitive.
Yes.
But yeah, like that was a creative thing that we're gonna do, but then that didn't get to happen.
I know.
So then we did the read through and back in what, like was that February for this?
It was before COVID.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
it was back
We-
in February and things were still okay.
Yeah, we did the table read. We read it. It made me so excited for it, and then it was just the largest buzzkill.
Oh,
I
And I was
know.
like, we're gonna do
I
this.
know.
It's gonna get set. Everything is ready.
Yeah.
Everybody's coming together. They're already doing so much work. It's so great. And then boom, everybody stay indoors. You know,
No contact.
this definitely isn't
Yeah.
essential. So I don't want to be
It
around
was,
anybody.
It was rough because then every so often I had my big binder and I would kind of look at it. I'm like, oh.
I know. I almost didn't want to look at anything. Like I didn't
I
want
was
to
like,
look
I
at any
can't look at like
scripts.
anything.
I
It's
didn't
like
wanna-
tunnel vision.
I didn't want to do like any of that because I was like, what's the point? I'm not gonna be able to do any. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? Because like what was actually worrisome for me was I was trying to figure out which actually the show that Lydia was talking about earlier that we were going to do was with this company right here,
Meg Theater.
Represent.
Plug!
No,
Meg Theater, awesome group here in
Yes.
downtown Hagerstown.
Very good, excellent art. No, we were going to do
Much art.
One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest,
Yes.
and Lydia and myself were both in it. And I actually, for the longest time, I was trying to keep the lines fresh in my head because I was like, I don't know. Nobody knew. Nobody knew
Yeah,
if we
I
were
still
going to come
have my
back.
binder with
Nobody-
the script in it for that
Yeah.
show, and I was like,
And it kind of hurt to put it down in a way, but it was also kind of nice to be like, you know what? Let's not think about it anymore.
Yeah,
Because when I was
one-
thinking about it, I was like, oh, we're going to
One could say that the performing arts took a toll from quarantine.
You know, you could say
It
that.
did.
You could say
a
that.
hard
really
toll. Everybody
did.
took a toll from this, obviously,
Yeah.
but there was something about for all of us here who also works in other facets of the live industry, performing arts, etc., production, just in general. We were the first to go, and we're the last to come back.
Yeah.
I mean, thankfully, this is
Always.
small.
Yeah.
But in terms of live theater or anything like that, people are still workshopping that right
Oh, yeah.
now.
They
Still
really
trying to
don't
figure out
know.
how that can
Yeah,
come
I
back.
have no
But, you know,
idea.
we digressed a little bit. Let's talk a little bit about this first session. Let's just
Yes.
go right off with Lydia. Lydia here is playing, for those of you who watch this later, she's playing Detective Christina Washburn, who is one of the primary characters of Smothered. And I'm very curious to hear your thoughts about your experiences so far with the character and also just voice acting in general. I don't know if you've done anything like that before.
yeah, I've not done anything really. Well, I did something back in like high school, way back, throwback to high school. I did something for the Washington County Historical Society. I did like a little mini, like small, very small voiceover thing, but that was really the only piece of voiceover I had done. And I went to school for acting. So in college, they do teach you at least a couple courses, a couple classes with film in mind, which is similar to voice acting because you do not have to do like what theater does. You have to be big.
You don't have to be
Your
loud all the time.
expressions have to be huge,
Right.
and you're just very expressive with your whole body. Especially if you're doing like a physical comedy or something, your whole body is what you're working with.
There's a little bit room for nuance.
Yeah.
Not that theater
yeah.
doesn't have
Yeah.
nuance, but if whispering in theater is a challenge for
This
everybody.
is whispering.
Yeah, you pretty much can't
This is
whisper.
whispering.
Can't whisper
You're
versus
not allowed.
versus a film set or voiceover
Yeah.
where you can get really close to a microphone and you can do that.
Exactly.
You can have that
I
angle.
actually did something at one point where in the script, there's been a couple times where, at least in this first part we were doing, where I was whispering a little bit more or having moments of like, just like more kind of to myself. And I leaned into the mic just ever so slightly and was enough to make a difference of like, she's whispering.
Yeah.
And like, obviously like with post like stuff editing, you can make it, you can tweak
yeah.
it however you need to.
Yeah.
So with that, like I've only done a couple of things, maybe a couple film related stuff, but I've done mainly theater. So it was kind of like I needed to sit down for a little bit and go, okay, I can't be
Right.
this.
And I mean,
You don't want to be a
can't-
cheerleader.
I cannot be a cheerleader or a
There's-
Patrick Star.
there's
Just spread eagle.
there's a place for it, you know. I mean, one of the reasons why I have my setup the way that I do is because a lot of booths, you know, you hear all about the vocal booth or the voiceover booth, is that depending on the size of it, it's claustrophobia just ensues even if you're not prone to it whatsoever. And even though there's still some things around you, I wanted to keep an open air aspect. I mean, I looked
God
into
bless
getting
your soul.
I looked into getting a booth about it, but that would mean that it would be darker, it would be a lot more insulated, and the space that we're in gets already, with three of us in there, it gets pretty heated pretty
Yeah.
fast.
Yeah,
We had
it's
to
tight
take
in
a
there.
few
It's tight
bags.
in there, yeah.
But it's important to be able to. It's amazing, even though people don't see it. Sometimes, depending on your delivery, if you are gesticulating, you can hear that. You can hear that in the delivery.
There was internal thoughts that Christina Washburn has at this part we were doing today. And there were moments where I kept it to myself in this small area, but I did like a couple things where I was, okay, if I'm thinking, like if I hold my hands, okay, well, and then like I would just like gently like, just even just a little bit was enough to be like, okay, I can feel it a little more with just a little bit of movement, which is something if you've ever watched like a video of voice actors for like a Disney animated movie or something, they get more space and they are allowed
They have
to
a little
like,
bit more money.
They have more
One
money.
day.
little
One day
bit.
maybe.
More
One
money.
day maybe. We'll see.
Disney has more
Lofty,
money.
lofty goals.
But like they have the money and the space to be able to let their actors move when they
Yeah.
do voice acting. There was a video you actually sent me and I watched that, and it was like they were talking about it and they had a couple clips of, you know, people doing voice acting for
Right,
like
yeah,
films
yeah.
and stuff, and they had this space and I was like, I wish, because I knew where we were filming.
No,
I was
me
like,
too.
I wish, but
Yeah.
I still was like, okay, I can do a little bit of something when I'm doing my lines without.
Right. And it's
Jazzercising.
also the connection between, say, you and the director, where it's turn eye contact, not I'm in this dark, enclosure.
Oh my
There's
gosh.
one window and you just look out.
Even like the most basic thing of like putting your hands on your hips or crossing your arms when you're delivering a line, that tweak is just enough for you to go, okay,
Yeah.
different delivery. So even just the basic changes physically of just like, maybe I'm standing differently, putting my weight differently can be just enough for you to change how you're going to deliver the lines.
Yeah.
So
that was actually one of the coolest things I thought today was letting you kind of just watching you sink into the character. Because when you first started, and I think for anybody that doesn't have a lot of voiceover work, you're not really sure exactly like how to really do it. I mean, you can
Yeah.
watch all you want. Like
Right.
I was watching some Mark Hamill videos and stuff, which he's one of the most fun
Yes,
people to watch do
Mark
voiceover
Hamill.
work.
Goals.
But yeah, right.
Yes.
Hashtag.
we love you, Mark Hamill.
But no, but seriously, it was fun to hear you. I mean, we worked together on building the character, but it was
Right.
fun to just hear you get better and better each take, just understanding a little better delivery as you went. for what you were doing. It was very interesting.
It was also nice just because, like, at first I kind of got used to be like, okay, I'm waiting for the director to give me directions because that's what the director does. And, like, yes, Seth gave me plenty of directions, and, like, we obviously were like, oh, let's try it this way. But as we got further into it, I was like, hey, can I just do it another time? Like, I got more into, like,
Which I love.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, hey, can I actually just do this part again, this line again, because, like, I want to tweak it, or I felt like I messed up, like I stumble over my words a lot. So
which is just another thing,
like-
and it's not that this is voiceover versus theater.
No,
theater,
it's not.
It's all storytelling. But
It's all the same.
this format that's nice is that in theater, since it's over, that moment's over, and you can never get it back again. In this instance, it's
No pressure.
You know what? I get it now. Let's do it one more time.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it just
sometimes
works,
it takes a second for your brain to follow what you just said. So then it takes a second to click, and you go, oh, wait, retry, do it.
Yeah.
Which is why we
do it.
Just
do it.
Hey, do it now.
What are you doing? What are you doing? It doesn't look like you're doing it.
Bring
I told
donuts.
Hey, give me the donuts.
Give
Jose.
it donuts.
You. Just do it.
But there are also times where, considering the fact that this piece is a little more heavy in the sense of it's darker, it has some,
You could say that.
just a smidge.
Be on the lookout.
Yeah, it's a little dark. Children, hold hands.
Check out the video that promotes it. I mean, you'll get a good
great.
sense about it. Yeah.
But it is more on the dark, more dramatic side of things, which makes sense considering it is about a detective and stuff. So it's
Right.
a little.
Yeah.
But
Homicide
we
detective.
did find times where we were laughing.
Oh yeah.
Just because of how I delivered a line. And it's like there's even lines where you said, just as a person to read lines, where I had to be like, don't laugh, don't laugh. Just because at that moment where it wasn't very serious, you had that comedy. Because with something like this, you need comedy.
Yeah.
You need the balance. The same thing with you watching like a horror film. It can't just be like jump scare.
Oh, sure.
You can't do
It's an
that.
ebb and
You
flow.
have to have the flow of like, everything's fine.
Oh, look, there's a dog. No, there's a dog.
That is so true. Every time there's an
That
animal,
dog's going to be the first thing that knows.
every time there's an animal in any horror film, you go,
Yeah.
oh no.
Absolutely.
Just a moment. But
Yeah, I thought that actually it was very interesting for me directing because like I've only ever directed theater productions. So it was actually interesting getting to this first session in, and it was nice to get it under my belt to kind of figure out what was actually going on and how like I had to figure out it just as much as you had to figure out what you were doing. And what was actually really interesting for me was getting to read with you, because usually if you're directing someone, you're watching like if it's a dialogue, two people are on stage doing their dialogue and you're directing them that way, which was what was interesting for me was trying to, when I was reading, changing the character that I was reading to give you something different to go off of, because I think that energy really changes the entire scene.
Yeah.
So that was really interesting for me, because I got to, sometimes I didn't even give you a direction and I was like, let's just try it again. But I changed what I was doing, which changed what you were doing. Which was a cool way to form it. It's just a different, thing.
it's again like we're mostly theater actors, so we're so used to bouncing our energy off of another person. So to have someone at least even just reading something, anything with even the slightest inflection is just enough to be like, okay, just to have a person to talk to instead of just hello.
Yes.
Luke, read their line.
Yeah.
How are you? Like it's like you have to have those pauses, because then our lovely editing people are able to do what they do and be able to actually take the line and do whatever you need.
Fit it where
That's
it needs
the
to
real
be.
work.
Go.
That's the real work.
That is the real work.
The
Like,
amount
seriously.
of material that we got is great, but my gosh, I am dreading going through. It's like, that take was great. Oh, that take was, and it's not, if
It's
there
not
was
even
like 50 takes and there was 2 that were gold at
No.
the easy, it's when there are like 6
I know.
and they're all good.
I know.
Yeah.
And they're just like
Really
tiny
good.
tweaks.
Yeah. And the thing is like we'll do like 3 or 4 takes of something, like whatever like page we're on, we'll do like 3 or 4 of them, and then it's like ever slightly like, oh, I like how you delivered this line from this one, but I like how you did this, and you have to like
Right, and you kind
do
of pick
this
and
lovely
choose and
puzzle.
you kind of splice things together, but then you think, oh, right, do these inflections work? Are we able to? And there are tools where you can in post where you can make it work, but it's always better to not fix it in post. Don't fix it in post.
It's kind of like the whole, like, you do multiple. It's like that. It's like a puzzle, like a 1,000-piece puzzle. And it's all the same colors, but there's one difference in every piece. That is how it is,
Really.
because everything's good except for maybe a couple rando pieces.
This analogy is
mainly
really hitting home right now.
You're welcome. I'm
fun.
the queen of analogies. I got it.
Oh my
But
So, Seth, I wanna take a moment to kind of switch. You've already talked a little bit about how you have directed mostly theater before in this. But
Anything I've directed, it's been all theater.
what are some challenges coming into this when I sat down and talked with you about this opportunity to direct? What are some things going into it where you thought, okay, how did you kind of change your approach before we even started, directing, or even before we even got to this phase? Because we've done it a little bit when we recorded the table read. Be on the lookout for that. Actually, that's gonna be a while. Hopefully, everybody who watches this is able to experience the after my heart right there with this one. Try not to make this happen. But we did a little bit with the table read and everything like that, but this is the first time where we've actually sat down and, we've had that interaction. So, coming up to it, what was your thought process? I'm curious.
It was a very interesting everything back. I wanted to be a part of it when we first talked about it. It sounded like a cool opportunity, and I read the script and really liked it. And the idea of just doing voiceover was really foreign to me, and I didn't really know at first. Like I said, I actually learned more today than, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
I learned a lot of what to do today, and I think we're just going to get better and better and better, just like we were talking about how Lydia's lines got better and better as she went.
oh, gee, thanks.
Well, they did.
They
Honest.
absolutely did, because I'm sure, even though, Lydia, you had a little bit of that experience prior, that this was...
It was still foreign to me,
because
I just kind of stood there and was like...
And this is why, even though I'm sure to you all and the emails and everything like that I sounded like a broken record, but it's just, I wanted everybody to try and just, mentally prepare themselves as much as possible for that.
Yeah, and that was really interesting to me, because when you talk about character work and everything, and I even sent Lydia an email the other day, and just talking about character work is completely different for voiceover. Kind of. It's the same, because it's weird. It's kind of the same, but it's really different at the same time. Yeah.
Yes and no.
Because you need to figure out you need to do all your character work beforehand, but the struggle there is you don't have any of the tools you have in theater other than your voice. You don't have the look, you don't have the costume, you don't have the movement even, to get something across. Because in theater, you might say something some way, but just one little move makes it a whole different delivery. So it's very, and you can do that here too, like Lydia was talking about, but nobody's going to see that.
Nobody's going to see it. They might hear it.
You might hear it.
It might affect it. And if anything, it will affect the performance.
Yeah.
But like you're saying, if somebody is on stage and they just, it's like, that's different than what you did before, and maybe here's why, versus you doing that but delivering. But thankfully, everything we're doing is all delivery, and there's not really moments to work that in. I mean, obviously there are still things that we do in everyday life that, vocal tics and just sighs, all those things, all of these nonverbal sounds that we make with our mouths that will definitely help, that can be incorporated into character choices that kind of help differentiate people, how you breathe, anything like that.
And I thought that's something we kind of found today as we went along with Washburn was, I think we found some character traits there where, when we had talked about it, where she does have some very, like we said, cop mind, the new TV show coming out. She has some very business-like, this is the thing, and she's putting a puzzle together also. It's that we talked about that earlier, that the detective is trying to figure out what is going on.
Yeah.
And so it was just very interesting, because just as we went, I think we found more and more of the character, which is going to happen.
Obviously, yeah.
Yeah.
Which I'm, again, and this won't always be the case, in this particular form of production, we'll be jumping around a little bit, but today we started at the beginning. So we've already got the arc starting. It might have to be built like a puzzle piece. Well, we're just going to keep going on that analogy as the puzzle piece.
The puzzle
but
is
We're the
there.
puzzle.
it's always better
puzzle
to
is
start
there
the
now.
story at the
I
beginning of the
love
story if
puzzles.
you can. Yeah, clearly.
I love puzzles.
But what are some things that people? Why should people listen to this when it does come out?
I think it's because it's something that it's relevant to kind of now as a society with different things about mental health is one part of it, just because of some characters you will meet later. I don't want to give anything away.
Sure.
But in case they hadn't seen it, but about mental health, but for both the person that the detective is speaking with, then also the detective themselves, because being a cop or a detective is not exactly an easy job, and it's can be rough, but it's also just talks about burnout. Honestly, there is some burnout,
Being
overworked, which is just for anybody, because I know we've all had times in our lives where we have been worked to the bone,
Overworked,
and we're just
underpaid,
like
underappreciated, feeling of all this.
Life of an
Anyone
actor, yeah.
anyone who's in the arts understands that is can be a very big part of it. So I think it's one, it's relevant, and two, it's just a real good piece. It's like I'm very like it really is though. Like seriously, earlier when we were doing one of the kind of like internal thoughts with Washburn, and you kind of get to hear a little bit of what she's thinking. I got a little emotional, and it wasn't like I had read this multiple times and I knew what I was saying, but it was like there were times where I was like, okay, it's kind of, but it still hits me every time.
Yeah.
It's like when you read your favorite book and you're like, I know what this part is. I know what this part is.
I'm ready.
I'm okay.
I'm ready. No.
So every time I read Marlon
Sam's
and
gonna
Mason,
carry
Man,
Frodo.
Lenny.
I know Sam's gonna carry Frodo. Oh my God, he's gonna do
he's gonna do it.
You can't carry him.
I can't do this.
He's got it this time. Yeah.
It's that kind of thing where it's just a really good piece that can speak to a variety of people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's a very well done piece.
Yeah, and there's a lot of morality in it too. And I think that's very interesting that you said it was it's very it is with the times right now. Like it is very interesting.
Not to get super political.
No, we're not getting political
We're not
at all,
getting
but I am
political.
saying there is some police tactics that are a bit could be called questionable in the show.
Yeah.
But
Yes.
Little
there are
immoral,
moral
maybe.
choices between the characters and how they're trying to get something done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's very timely. And yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, thank you so much for sharing that. I hope that I at least feel very confident that we'll keep growing as a cast, as a production team, and everything like that. And for everybody who's listening and tuning in, thank you for
Thank
doing
you
that.
so much.
Looking forward to the next time where we do this with the next character, the next actor who Seth and I sit down with and have a session with, prior to this.
Also, donate. Where's the donate
Ooh,
button?
yeah, that would be really nice if that wasn't closed.
Oh,
you
is it
know, I
closed?
mean, we did some crowdfunding campaign, which you can still look at on Indiegogo.com. If you just search up R-Cade Productions, you can still find our now closed, unfortunately, campaign where we were crowdfunding for this, because we had this whole idea because again, it is about one of the main focuses of this is second chance, is about not giving up on something that seems so lost, so far gone. It's taking the time to actually dig deeper into something that on surface level seems hopeless, or something that seems as though there's no way it could change, no possible sign of, I don't know, again, burnout. It's just the grind. And it's like, is it? Or does that mean that something is going to suffer because of that? Which is, to me at least, I think is very important to never get lost in it, which it is hard. And that concept of being overworked, overpaid, not feeling appreciated, any of that, even if it's just a feeling, is so paramount to this. So you can, at least to stay up to date, you can follow R-Cade Productions and also social medias. You can check out the crowdfunding campaign. You can follow us to stay up to date. But yeah, I mean, that by itself, we sincerely appreciate and look forward to having you all here again for the next chat. Until then,
Yeah.
thank you.
Thank you.
So yeah.
Take care.